الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر ولله الحمد. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. ربي أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So because tomorrow is Arafah, or technically Arafah has already started for the Hujjaj, I wanted to speak about the day of Arafah, its virtues, what to do on the day of Arafah in more extensive detail than what the typical person knows. There's a hadith, of course, in Sahihain where the Prophet ﷺ, a hadith in Sahihain where Umar radiallahu anh, he was approached by a Jewish man and he said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, there is an ayah in your Quran, you know this, you've heard this before, there's an ayah in your Quran that if we Jews were to have it, and if it was revealed to us, we would have taken that day as Eid. And he said, the ayah is, the Jewish man, he said, الْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. Today I have completed for you your religion, I have completed for you this blessing, and I am pleased as Islam for you as a religion. Umar radiallahu anh, he responded to this, he said, I know the day it was revealed, I know the place it was revealed. It was revealed when the Prophet ﷺ was standing on Arafah. By the way, Arafah with ta marbuta, without the alif, Arafah is usually referred to the day. Arafat with alif and ta is referred to the place. Okay? So Arafah is the day. So tomorrow is the day of Arafah. And the Hujjaj, they're going to be standing in Arafat. Sometimes they use it interchangeably as well, but this is what's commonly, this is how it's commonly found. Okay. He said, I know it was when it was revealed when the Prophet ﷺ was standing on Arafah on the day of Jumu'ah. And so this day, he said, we would have taken this as Eid. And we all know Eid is a time where we're supposed to show happiness, we're supposed to show joy. It is when believers, they show, they celebrate amongst each other. And a believer, he becomes happy and he celebrates when it's related to his, ibadah and the completion of ibadah with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A believer does not celebrate in something like lahu and la'ib, in something like, how would you translate lahu and la'ib? Basically, not entertainment, but we celebrate out of purpose. We did something, so we celebrate it. We celebrate ibadah. We celebrate udhiyah. These are the things that a believer celebrates. He celebrates closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قُلْ بِفَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَبِرَحْمَتِهِ فَبِذَلِكَ فَلْيَفْرَحُوا. With the virtue of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His mercy, with that a believer celebrates. So that is why we celebrate on not just the day of Eid, but even Yawm Arafah. They're all called Ayyam Akl wa Shurb. Except for us, we should fast. I'll get to it. So let's go to the virtues of Arafah. The Prophet ﷺ, he says in a hadith, Al-Hajju Arafah. Hajj is Arafah. If you miss Arafah, no Hajj. You miss Arafah, no Hajj. You miss Jamarat, your Hajj still can be accepted. You miss Muzdalifah, your Hajj could still be accepted. You miss Arafah, no Hajj. It's one of the pillars, you cannot miss it. So Hajj is Arafah. You see, and it shows like the greatness of the day of Arafah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also, on this day, the day of Arafah, he completed the religion of Islam and the blessing of us being Muslim. And also they say that after the day of Arafah, after that day, there was no more new ahkam that came. There was no more halal and haram that came after that. The Prophet ﷺ, as you all know, he passed away shortly after, like 80, 90 days. The Prophet ﷺ, it is also a day of Eid for the believers. They say that this ayah was revealed on two Eids. One of the Eids is Jumu'ah, and the other Eid is Yawm Arafah. We don't really think about it as Eid, but any time you get closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's Eid for you. Any time in a day that you don't sin, that's Eid for you. Anytime you worship Allah, that's Eid for you. Anytime you get to read Quran, that's Eid for you. This is how our mindset should be. They say that the people who are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have Eid every day. See? They have Eid every day because every day they get that closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Eid, as it means like symbolically, does it mean it's actually day of Eid? Like, do we fast on the day of Arafah? Yes, we fast on the day of Arafah. We're encouraged to, and we'll cover the hadith. Do the Hujjaj fast? No, they should not fast. You know why? Because who are they the guests of? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is it appropriate for someone to be hosted by Allah and not be fed? Astaghfirullah. Is it appropriate for someone to be hosted by Allah and stay hungry? Of course not. So that's why, mashallah, Hujjaj, they eat and eat and eat in all of the different buffets. People look down at it. I encourage it. Allah is inviting them. Allah is feeding them. What's your problem? So the Hujjaj, they don't fast, but we fast on the day of Arafah. Okay? As you know, the hadith, the day of Arafah, the day after Yawm al-Nahr, the day of sacrifice, which is Eid, and the days of Ayyam al-Tashriq, the following days, are all Eiduna, Ahl al-Islam. It is the Eid for Ahl al-Islam, and they are the days of eating and drinking. So we should celebrate by eating and drinking on the days of Eid and onwards, and tomorrow's iftar. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He also swears by Yawm Arafah. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears by something in the Quran, you know it's of great importance. I'm going to get into what to do, but first let me cover this. وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ. He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, calls it وَشَاهِد وَمَشْهُود, referring to Jumu'ah and the day of Arafah. He also talks about وَالْفَجْرِ وَلَيَالٍ عَشْرٍ. He swears about the 10 nights. It's referring to the 10 nights and the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. You see, it's referring to the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah according to the majority of scholars. وَالشَّفْعِ وَالْوَتْرِ also. Al-Shaf' is referring to the 10th day, which is Eid, and Al-Watr is referring to tomorrow, which is Arafah. Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sweared by the 10 days and then He chose specifically out of them the 9th and 10th. Meaning if He swears by it in the Quran, it has a great status. And of course we all know the ayat where He talks about Dhul Hijjah, the 10 days, أيام معلومات, أيام معدودات, as you all know. There's a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the hadith related to the fada'il and the virtues, they're not always the most sound. Sometimes they're weak, but that you don't need to have a strong hadith when it comes to virtues of ibadah. We already know we're supposed to do them. Okay, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's reported that he said through the narration of Aisha, صِيَامُ يَوْمِ عَرَفَةَ كَصِيَامِ أَلْفِ يَوْم. Fasting on the day of Arafah, it's as though you fasted 1,000 days. It's as though you fasted 1,000 days. Now let me ask you, are the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah better or the 10 last days or nights of Ramadan? 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. So the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah are better in Ramadan, but mashallah, Ramadan you see everyone here, Dhul Hijjah you see nobody here. This is a problem, you see? Because people, they don't know that these days are just as virtuous. Meaning that the ibadat that you do specifically in these days, they're better. What about fasting though? Is fasting in these days better or Ramadan? Ramadan, because it's fard. That's the only difference. Because Ramadan it's fard, it holds more status in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But other ibadat that a person could do, these days it's better. Of course, you all know that fasting on the day of Arafah tomorrow, and I encourage everyone to fast. Wake up your families to fast. Children, make sure they fast. Whoever you know, remind them to fast even on text message. Some people, they forget, they're heedless, or they don't, maybe sometimes if they don't go to the masjid often enough, people don't even know. Sometimes our children, they don't even know what does it mean 10 days of the Hijjah, right? So remind each other of fasting. يكفر السنة التي قبلها الماضية والباقية. The past year, sins wiped out. Coming year, sins all wiped out, right? So we should not miss this opportunity. This sale only comes once a year. This sale only comes once a year. It's called, there's Black Friday. This is white Arafah. White Arafah because all the Hujjaj are wearing white. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, the best days, أفضل الأيام, the best day is Yawm Arafah, is the day of Arafah. Is there any day better in the year than Arafah? No. What about Laylatul Qadr? That's night. That's night. But day, the best day is without any doubt, is the day of Arafah. And some even say that the days of Arafah are like in reward the nights of Laylatul Qadr. Or is like in reward a night of Laylatul Qadr. That's what they say. So it's tomorrow's worship that is going to be incredibly rewarded. Also, some of the Salaf, they used to call this Al-Hajj al-Akbar, the great Hajj, the major Hajj. We also know that the Prophet ﷺ, it is reported that he said, there is no day where more people are freed from hellfire than the day of Arafah. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will be bragging about the people of Arafah. Not just those standing in Arafat. Everyone who makes dua in Arafah. You see? Everyone, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be bragging to His angels, and He will say, look to my servants. They came to me so humble. They came to me disheveled. They came to me from all parts of the world, making dua to me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will come down and descend into the heavens. بِمَا يَلِيقُ بِهِ عَزَّ وَجَلْ. And He, Azza wa Jal, He will say to the angels, I bear witness that I forgive all of them. غَفَرْتُ لَهُمْ. And the angels will say, what about this person? He had, he did this sin, this sin, this sin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, I forgave all of them. And there is not a single day where I free more of my servants than the day from hellfire than the day of Arafah. You see, so it's a great day where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frees many from the hellfire and the punishment of the hellfire. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from them. Allahumma a'tiq riqabana minan nar. Also, they say that the doors of the heavens, they open every night 3 times. The last third of the night. And on Jumu'ah, the night of Jumu'ah, the Thursday night basically, 7 times. And on Arafah, 9 times. So night time, this is now, right now. Allah subhanahu the Abwab as-Sama' will be open 9 times. So don't think, I'm going to start ibadah tomorrow. Start from now. You see? There's also another hadith that on the day of Arafah, anybody who even has the least bit of iman in his heart, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive them. And it will be asked, is this specifically for the righteous people or for everyone? It's for everyone. See, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive everyone on the day of Arafah. There's also a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, or an athar, Shaitan was not seen more chota, more small, and more humiliated, and more low, and more just completely put down, feeble than the day of Arafah. Because of why? Because of all of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala coming down, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgiving everybody for their sins, except what Shaitan saw on the day of Badr. And they said, what did Shaitan see on the day of Badr, the battle of Badr? He said, because he saw Jibreel alayhi salam putting the angels in rows of, preparing the angels as an army in rows. So Shaitan was even more low and feeble and humiliated that day. But aside from that, then the day of Arafah, the Shaitan is completely put down. The hadith of Prophet ﷺ actually laughing at this as well. The fact that Shaitan, he is the least, Iblis, he is the least bit and most feeble and most humiliated in that day. Also, it is narrated that so there was a man, Ali ibn Muwaffaq, that he stood in Arafah, okay, and he saw some, making dua, and he saw many people. And he said, seeing them, and he had some shafaqah towards them, he said, Ya Allah, if you do not accept any of their hajj, then I gift my hajj to them. That's what he said. He said, Ya Allah, if you do not accept any of, like he felt sad, like he said, Ya Allah, if you do not accept any of their hajj, then I gift my hajj to them, right? This is just him talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so that night, he saw Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his dream. And how that happens, this is something, the sha'nul awliya, this is something that the people who have a khas relationship with Allah, they only understand. He saw Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and it was said to him, he said, Ya ibn al-Muwaffaq, are you trying to be generous with me? Are you trying to be generous with me? For I have forgiven all of them. I forgive everyone that stood and made dua in Arafah. And those that stand everywhere, and I give them my intercession, them, their families, their children, everyone. I forgive all of them. وَأَنَا أَهْلُ التَّقْوَى وَأَهْلُ الْمَغْفِرَةِ. You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's very generous on this day. He's generous every day, but subhanAllah, the day of Arafah, as you see, is very special. The things that would help us gain that protection, the forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us. And for us to be freed from hellfire, there's a few things that could help that. Of course, is fasting. Fasting on this day will forgive the sins of the year prior and the year to come. So a person should fast. That would help him get maghfirah and protection from hellfire. Also, to keep his hands and limbs and eyes all free of doing muharramat. You should not do anything haram on that day. Is reported in Musnad Imam Ahmad on a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The day of Arafah is a day where if a person protects and he has in control his ears, his eyes, and his tongue, he will be forgiven. So we should be careful as to what we hear tomorrow, what we say tomorrow, what we look at tomorrow. We should be making sure that we don't do anything, even slightly doubtful, no TV, no music, whatever a person may do in their private affairs. Leave this for the day of Arafah. Please leave this for the day of Arafah. A person should also say lots of shahadat al-tawheed bi-ikhlas wa sidq, meaning you should be saying, as the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, the best dua is the dua of Yawm Arafah, and the best dua is what I myself and the prophets before me have said. Say it with me. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah lahul mulk wa lahul hamd wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. So we should be repeating this a lot. Also the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he was in Arafah and he read the ayah, شَهِدَ اللَّهُ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ وَأُولُو الْعِلْمِ. So they bear witness that there is no one, there's no deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the angels and the people of knowledge, they all bear witness. And the Prophet ﷺ, he then said, وَأَنَا عَلَى ذَلِكَ مِنَ الشَّاهِدِينَ. So reciting this ayah as well, شَهِدَ اللَّهُ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُ. It's in Surah Ali Imran, the 3rd page. Okay. Also, doing lots of dua for maghfirah. Asking dua. You should ask dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you and to protect you from hellfire, because this is a day where dua is supposed to be accepted. So you should be saying a dua similar to this. Allahumma a'tiq raqabati min an-nar, qulu amin. Wa awsi' li min ar-rizq al-halal, wasrif anni fasaqat al-jinni wal-ins. Also, to prevent yourself from showing any sort of arrogance on this day. If you like to be arrogant usually, humble yourself tomorrow. Humble yourself tomorrow completely. Come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like a begging servant. Do not show kibr to other people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ كُلَّ مُخْتَالٍ فَخُورٍ. Allah doesn't love, He doesn't like when people show arrogance towards others and they see themselves as so high and mighty. Mukhtal comes from the word khayl, which means a horse. You know how a horse stands tall and he's so prideful, his chest is puffed up? Fakhur means that he's showing pride and arrogance to others. Okay, so a person should refrain from this. The Prophet ﷺ, he says in a hadith that there is no day that is seen where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala frees more slaves, frees more male and female servants than the day of Arafah. And Allah does not forgive a person who is arrogant and prideful. Allah does not forgive someone who is arrogant and prideful. So we should be careful not to have this quality any day, especially tomorrow. Another thing that we should completely avoid, for sure, is staying away from the major sins. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the major sins always, and the minor sins. It was narrated by Ibn Abi Dunya that there was a man, he saw everyone being forgiven except one person, and he asked about him, and he found out that he was someone who drink a lot of alcohol. And that man had, on that day, he drank alcohol and he was drunk, and his mother, she scolded him, and she was by an oven, and him in his drunk state and what he pushed her in and she burned. And so this person, he has no one to blame except himself. This person has no one to blame himself, so we should completely stay away from any of the major sins. And from the major sins is uquq al-walidain. So make sure, even if you have time to call your parents tomorrow, do some dua for them, say I love you, whatever it may be. Also, talk to your parents tomorrow too. Make sure you're not doing uquq al-walidain. You're worshipping Allah day and night, but then your father and your mother is waiting for your phone call. Aib, right? It's reminding me I have to go home and call my dad too. The way you should come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make dua, and also it's recommended that you come to the masjid and make dua. It's good, you can make it at the musalla of your home, but if you come to the masjid, there's a special khususiyah of it. Some of the scholars recommended it. Just as the hujjaj, they all stand in Arafah, all the musallin, they come and they stand in the masjid. That's also something very encouraged. Maybe we could do a collective dua before iftar time, inshallah, tomorrow. We'll do that together, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And the dua for the khatm al-Quran tomorrow also after Fajr. Everyone should come for Fajr, at least attend the dua and then leave. At least attend the dua of the khatam and then leave. The way the people, they would come to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's two different types. One of the types of people is that they're completely out, in fear and awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they're shy. Meaning they're so shy. Allah, how can I even talk to you? How can I even make dua to you when I've been sinning left and right? Ya Allah, how can I even talk to you when I don't even pray salah properly? Ya Allah, how can I even ask you? Like, who am I to ask? So there's a category of people that they come to Allah in this humble state. They're so shy. Ya Allah, how can I dare ask you? And there's one of them, he said in a dua, he said, Ya Allah, do not reject the du'as of everyone here because of me. SubhanAllah. Think how low he thinks of himself. Ya Allah, do not reject the du'as of everyone here because of my sins. Ya Allah. You see how that deep emotion. Tomorrow, don't think about du'as that you're memorizing and you're reading. Rabbana atina fid dunya. No, make du'as from the qalb. Talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is not a time to make du'as following the du'a al-ma'thur. That's good. But tomorrow, make du'a from the heart. And also, there's a second category of people, they make dua with hope on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sufyan al-Thawri, once he was riding on his animal and his eyes, were, he was crying. And then, and I said to him, he said to Sufyan al-Thawri, who is the worst one here? Who is the worst one in this whole gathering? And then he said, Sufyan al-Thawri, the one who believes that Allah will not forgive him. The one who believes, the worst one is the one who believes that Allah will not forgive him. So you should have a balance, you should have hope. Who am I, Ya Allah, to ask you? But again, Ya Allah, you're so generous that even for someone as da'if and faqid and mudhnib as me, you would give him. You see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so generous that even me, such a lowly person, who has nothing, who's done nothing to deserve any of the blessings that I have, who has done nothing, even me, someone like me, Ya Allah, you'll show generosity to. This is how we should come tomorrow and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of Arafah. And I'm going to end with this last point, and this one is always quoted. By the way, all of this, I took it from a book called Lata'if al-Ma'arif. من فاته في هذا العام القيام بعرفة فليقم لله بحقه الذي عرفه. Whoever is not able to stand at Arafah, then let him come to a standstill at the limits that Allah has set for him. But in Arabic it's in rhyme form, okay? وَمَنْ عَجِزَ عَنِ الْمَبِيتِ بِمُزْدَلِفَةٍ فَلْيُبَيِّتَ عَزْمَهُ عَلَى طَاعَةِ اللَّهِ وَقَدْ قَرَّبَهُ وَأَزْلَفَ. Whoever is not able to stay the night at Muzdalifah, then let him stay in a state of obedience to Allah, seeking closeness and nearness to Him, Azza wa Jal. The next part, he says, وَمَنْ لَمْ يُمْكِنْهُ الْقِيَامِ بِأَرْجَاءِ الْخَيْفِ Masjid al-Khayf, which is in Mina, فَلْيَقُمْ لِلَّهِ بِحَقِّ الرَّجَاءِ وَالْخَوْفِ. Whoever is not able to sacrifice his animal at Mina, then let him slaughter and sacrifice his own lusts and desires so that he may achieve a higher aim. Yeah. And then the next part, where'd it go? ومن لم يصل إلى البيت لأنه منه بعيد فليقصد رب البيت فإنه أقرب إليه من حبل الوريد. Whoever is not able to reach the house because it is far away, then let him direct his heart to the Lord of that house, for he is nearer to him than his own jugular vein. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to spend this whole day of Arafah in ibadah of Him. It's a day of dua, a day of tahleel, takbir, tahmeed, a day of turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, completely changing, sacrificing, and changing your route, coming to Him in a humble state. Do not come and make dua as though you are not in need. We are in need. We are desperately in need. So come to Him in a humble state and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to change your hal. Ask Him for whatever you want. Make dua for yourself, make dua for your family, make dua for your community, make dua for the ummah, make dua for the people of Hajj and Arafah as well. Make dua for the people of Arafat, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects them. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow them to make dua in a humble state as well. Because imagine the world without people making dua in Arafat. What would be the state, right? So we should be making dua for the Hujjaj, and of course the Hujjaj will be making dua for us. وصلى اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Any questions or announcements? Announcements? Yeah. Any questions though? Okay, bismillah. Go ahead.
Questions?
No questions. Bismillah. You take the mic. Okay.
Quick reminder.
Sisters are there. They complain.
They complain. Okay.
Sorry. It's a deserving complaint.